it's not just about, oh, thanks for being my bridesmaid and thanks for holding my train and all those kind of things. You're giving them something to cherish forever. And in many instances, you're giving them a piece of history.
Welcome to the Guest Book Podcast. Rachel Harper, how are you today?
I am brilliant. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. You've got lots and lots of things to talk about. And it's a subject very close to my heart, which is keepsakes. But before we get into all that, I want to know what it is that you do and what inspired you to do it.
So I am the co-founder of the Kids Press Company, and my fellow co-founder is my identical twin sister, Sarah. And in short, I created the Kids Press Company with my sister to celebrate family milestones. And it came about having had my daughter at the very, very start of COVID, and myself and sort of fellow NCT parents, my lifeline through that period. And I'm sure as many of your listeners will have experienced, people parented through an experience that no one in the world had ever parented before. And I wanted to celebrate the fact that we got through parenthood, but we got through parenthood through a global pandemic. And I couldn't really find a card to celebrate that moment. So in the classic entrepreneurial sense, I created my own. I created a range of 8 parenthood cards to celebrate the fact that we did it. We got through the most unique first year of parenthood that anyone will have ever gone through. And I suppose, as they say from there, the rest is history. But in a nutshell, I create keepsakes, paper keepsakes to cherish forever.
Oh, wow. It was a very difficult time. I mean, my daughter was 2, I think, at the time. I've journaled a lot about it for her so she can read about it. We've got like photographs and things like that. But as you say, there was nothing around to go, this is what happened then, this is what happened then. It was a very unique time in our children's life for sure.
Yeah, massively. And it's funny that you say that. I have the classic infant milestone and memory box, but within that is the letter from Boris that we all got, the cover of Grazia with an NHS worker on the front of it, and just other little unique things that are pieces of history now at this stage, having moved through it. But yeah, I think congratulations to all of us for getting through it. And, you know, my heart goes out to people who had challenges and lost loved ones throughout it as well. Because I think life is back to normal, and it's not to be underestimated, you know, outside of parenthood or the challenges around rescheduling family events. But, you know, people did lose people. And I think we still need to remember to be sympathetic to that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a time that some people, I think we kind of took for granted in a way. I don't think we thought it was going to affect our lives as much as it did. And so when it had that profound impact on everybody's lives, it's like, how do we move through this?
Yeah.
What can we do to celebrate our children's birthday? Because a lot of people didn't, like, they had parties maybe at home, they couldn't see grandparents or friends. So it was very strange. I mean, they may not have known it'd be strange because it's something they never knew before, but for us, it was, we need this to be special for them. I know very much I wanted it to be special for my daughter. But it's like, how do you create that? And I love that personal touch of having something very unique that no one has before. Obviously, we've never been through it before, but having it, and you can look back on that in years and years to come, as can your children, and go, this was a part of history that I've now got in my memory box.
Exactly.
So how have you moved then through into weddings? Because obviously you're not pigeonholed into just doing things for children or COVID, because obviously it's gone or going now. How can you help couples celebrate their milestones in getting engaged, getting married, and things like that?
We have had the absolute pleasure of what started with personal commissions. So based on the very timeless design and premium materials that I take a huge pride in choosing and using to produce our cards, I'd gotten contacted about, could I make an engagement card? Could I make a photo print for an anniversary present? And when I had customers commission these products, it really kind of got the sparks going, shall we say. And it was like, we create personalized stationery to celebrate family milestones. And throughout all of our lives, we have so many milestones to celebrate. So the next natural one for me to kind of create another product range about was weddings, and those moments on your wedding day that you want to try and slow down and just take a moment for and enjoy. And it allowed us to launch our engagement and wedding day card range, which is open to basically anybody to personalize with information specific to them, including names and dates. And it really is the opportunity for, whether that is, a bride to be, a groom to be, or even the parents, the extended bridal party, or the best friends, to basically pen a heartfelt note. And one of the the really special things about what we do is that our cards are all blank for you to be able to capture your sentiment in your own handwriting to give onto the loved one of whoever that may be. And in many cases, we've orders going out today that is for the whole family. So the parents, the immediate bridal party, the groom, the flower girl, the page boy, everybody who's involved in it. And that, those cards are shared, on the night before the wedding, the morning of the wedding, or even as the thank you card, depending on what greeting they go for. But it is passing on a very personal sentiment on that milestone occasion with that person's individual handwriting. And they are keepsakes to cherish forever. I've been so lucky to have people trust in me to make really beautiful commissions. Last week I had one come through to ask, could I personalize the card to actually be an invitation to a woman in this lady's life to be her mum on her wedding day. Wow. Because her mum was no longer with her. And it basically was a proposal for this woman to, would you be my mum on my wedding day? And wow. it really got me, because that's such an important moment in both of those ladies' lives. And this particular customer asked me to include a personalized message on the inside, which is something that we do offer all our customers. But the fact that somebody chose my cards to share on such a very special occasion outside of the wedding itself, it is exactly why I do what I do. That both of those women will remember that moment forever. And to be involved in just a very, very tiny way is such a privilege, and comes back to the whole foundation of what the Kids Press company is about, and it's personalized stationery celebrating family milestones. And I don't think, it just, even now talking about it actually makes me quite emotional, because the fact it was such a privilege to be asked, and an absolute honor to produce that card for that customer.
That's beautiful. That did actually make me well up a little bit, because last year I lost my dad, and so I'm trying to grasp having my own wedding day without having my dad there. And so I'm trying to think of things that I could do to very much bring him still part of the day and still have him there. Obviously, there's not going to be anyone there to replace my dad, but I've got the thought of asking my younger brother to walk me down the aisle and having that done in a personal way. And that's such a beautiful way of doing it, writing him a letter and asking him to do it that way. It's giving me chills actually thinking of it. I think keepsakes are really, really important. And we were speaking a little before we started filming about the impact of seeing somebody's handwriting. So that lady that's received that letter asking that very important question, she can cherish that all of her life and see, it's not tight. It's somebody's sat there and wrote from the heart, will you, be my mother on my wedding day, sort of thing. It's just a beautiful thing, because those little things outlast your wedding. Those are the things that you're always going to go back to and look at and go, oh, this just brings up so many feelings and emotions. You can kind of reconnect to the moment on having those little things.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think, we were speaking before we came on this call in this day and age, we're very quick to send a voice note or be reminded about on Facebook because it's somebody's birthday, and we'll, you know, send a very quick WhatsApp message. And the more we get into those habits for those milestones, we lose the tradition of sending a greeting card or sending a handwritten letter. You know, the concept of a pen pal as a kid seems so foreign. It's going to be completely foreign to our children. I remember the novelty. I used to have a pen pal in Canada.
Oh,
And
wow.
the excitement of having, you know, different stamps. And you know what I mean? Getting your own post as a child and all those different things. But, you know, there's probably, I think we could all count on one hand the amount of times we receive a physical card during the year. You know, if, and most of your listeners are, you know, couples who will be getting married, you know, you'll get the Valentine's card, and you'll probably get the birthday card and maybe one or two other milestone cards off your husband or partner, excuse me. But when do you actually send a card? You know, do you actually go out of your way to send just even a just because card? You know, to just pen a note to somebody to say, you know, whether it is a new mom or a parent or, you know, somebody who's just really, really dear to you. It's like sometimes it's just really nice to just pop something in the post as a just because card, but to capture a sentiment or just even to say hello. And phones are brilliant, and I don't think any of us will be without them. It's allowing us to be here today with technology, but capturing handwriting, capturing a sentiment and cherishing that, whether that is putting it in a memory box, even framing it, or, you know, I've had photos sent to me of my cards on people's pin boards, a little bit more beautifully arranged than my own in the background here for anyone who's watching this on YouTube. But it just comes back to taking that moment to just send somebody or share something that somebody is going to cherish forever. And we talked about it a little bit before we came on to record the podcast. But when I started this business, I didn't realize some of the history that was in my family's life. Now, I'm well aware that my mum has boxes and my grandparents have boxes of stuff. But last October, when I was home for my own grandmother's 92-year-old birthday, my mum dug out some really old pieces of paper that I was going to use for a photo shoot. And I suppose anyone who's watching this on YouTube will be able to see this, but it is a beautiful hand scripted letter in the most beautiful penmanship. And it's dated the 14th of October, 1892.
Wow.
And it's not even broken for anybody who's watching this on YouTube. It is beautifully intact. Huge respect to the quality of paper it was written on and the quality of ink, because it's not faded and it's been kept in a box with no particularly, you know, there was no preservation tissue or anything like that. It was just a box of papers. But I would be honored to think that something that I created to celebrate somebody else's family milestone will be kept for 10 years, let alone as long as this piece of paper has been cherished for. And it just really comes back to why we do what we do. I think it's so, we may not realize it in the moment now, but to have somebody's penmanship with a personalized note for a sentiment that's just for them is something that our children, our grandchildren will have the opportunity to cherish forever. But I think as we're so used to a digital world and convenience and, you know, in some instances, cost effectiveness, especially when you're managing the wedding budget, you've got to think beyond it. That would you like your nan or would you like your daughter or whatever family member, bridal party member? It's not just about, oh, thanks for being my bridesmaid and thanks for holding my train and all those kind of things. You're giving them something to cherish forever. And in many instances, you're giving them a piece of history. And it just makes me so proud and very honored to be a part of that moment in history for that couple, but also to encourage them to celebrate it and share with others that there is an opportunity here to pass on something to the next generation.
That's beautiful. I was very much, when I got engaged and I knew I wanted certain people to be in my bridal party, I knew I wanted to have the personal touch. And so one of my best friends, Matt, he's an incredible artist. He loves to draw and sketch. And I said, could you do me a picture of each person from my bridal party? And I'm going to like propose to them. And so we sketched it all up and did like little quirky pictures. So there's my sister and my two best friends. And I got them printed off, and then I hand wrote on the back just a nice little message of what they mean to me and what it would mean for them to be involved in my big day. And my friends have got them like framed on their wall. But if they ever took it off or reframed it, they will then go, oh yeah, here's that message that she wrote several years ago. And I've always been somebody that loves to kind of write. I overwrite, if anything, but I love to kind of share what it is that people mean, what people mean to me, and share it in a way that's personal. So writing's personal to me. And I just love the thought that if they were to take it off the frame or go in their little memory box, they'll pull it out and go and read it and go back to that moment. And I resonate with this so much. I love talking about it. It's definitely something that I think a lot of brides and grooms and people that are on this journey should take the time to really think about what it is that you want to create. Because as I say, once the day is gone, you want to look back at things and go, oh, that outlasts, the craziness of the wedding sort of thing. It's a lovely thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can get caught up in, the niceties or the novelties. And, I know like 5 or 6 years ago, it was like, have you got the photo booth? Have you got the candy bar? Have you got the, and they're, when you think about it in the scheme of things, they're a flash in the pan, because they will wonderfully serve a purpose of entertaining your guests and making it a memorable experience for them. But as you rightly said, once the wedding day is passed, what's left? You've got, fantastic memories of the occasion, but something like this literally lasts a lifetime. And I've had the pleasure of preparing the wedding day cards for great grandparents, or vice versa, that I've done, from the older generations to the couple getting married. So, to my grandson, to my granddaughter, to my daughter, to, the extended bridal party. And it works both ways, that, these cards are beautifully designed for the couple to share with their bridal party, but also from the parent or the grandparent to give to their child, or niece or family member on their day, to pass on, the sentiments back to the couple. And the range, extends to broad congratulations cards. Some of the greetings are absolutely perfect for hen parties, and stag parties. I've even had one of the cards a little while ago was reworded by a bride to be to give to her her future husband on his stag party.
Oh.
And I'm very fortunate to receive messages on a very regular basis. Can I change the wording to be whatever is suited for them? And for couples and brides and grooms to reach out to me to ask for that extra little bit of personalization is a real honor, because I will more than happily do it. I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to design, print, and pack everything in our studio here in Manchester. And it really has allowed me to then go kind of full circle with the concept. And I suppose if you were to think of the traditional timeline of life, I've started off with motherhood cards and parenthood cards, and for some people that is one of the earlier milestones in an untraditional journey of life. But one of our new best-selling ranges is both our alphabet dating cards, which essentially comes back to the full value of creating memories. You get a box, a beautiful luxury gift box with each letter of the alphabet, and on each letter of the alphabet is 3 different prompts of activities, both indoor and outdoor, for everything from something that you will have at home to be able to do, to the full-on splurge for an anniversary or a milestone birthday. But on the back of each card is dates and details for you to be able to just pen what you did, when you did it. But for your listeners who might not know it, paper is your first wedding anniversary. So this is a beautiful way to not have to deal with the, I don't mind what we do on the next date, because you've got over 75 ideas of activities to do, both indoor and outdoors. But we personalize the outer sleeve to be the couple's names or the new married title, married surname. And I've had people purchase them to include in bridal shower hampers, as anniversary gifts, as wedding gifts. And then they were exceptionally popular, understandably, for Valentine's Day and for Christmas. But in essence, it is another way to celebrate those milestones with an appropriate paper gift for your first wedding anniversary. And it really is just such an honor to be able to be a part of those milestone moments, and really encourage people to make more memories and to cherish things, because in this day and age, life is so fast, whether you're planning a wedding or you're moving through the early months and years of being married. Life is busy, and unless we kind of take the moment to pen the handwritten card or find what you're going to do on a date day this weekend and just be really mindful and enjoy it, life can pass us by so quickly. So if I can create, you know, a beautifully timelessly designed product to help you capture a memory, I'm absolutely honored.
You've done your job.
Yes, I have.
It's such a beautiful and unique idea, because not only can the couple exchange that as a gift on their first year anniversary, but it can be given by other people too. So it is like something that everyone can kind of get involved in gift giving and creating those memories, which is really
absolutely
good.
right. It is. And I had one couple recently who gifted it. The wife gifted it to the husband for Valentine's Day, and they used it. This is so unique, and it was so special to see how detailed they went with it. But they brought it on their honeymoon to Japan.
Oh, wow.
And used, wait till you hear this, used the alphabet prompts to plan their daily itinerary. And the night before each day, they would go through the cards and find an appropriate activity to do in the city or in the location in Japan. They took the whole set to Japan and were so inspired by it. So it goes without saying, they went for sushi, but they did loads of the other different activities, you know, whether it was a sunset walk or, you know, following loads of different prompts to do, to make sure that they got the most out of their trip and had fun, kind of sparking ideas of, okay, well, what else could we do? What else could we do? And of course they had the guidebook with them, and, you know, the tick list of different places that they wanted to go throughout their incredible honeymoon in Japan. But to think that they put so much thought into using the alphabet dating cards, taking them all the way to Japan. Again, I was absolutely honored. I was like, that's genius. Like, that is absolutely genius. There's no kind of, oh, I don't know what we might do today, or kind of flicking through the guidebook and being overwhelmed. So they kind of used it to match the guidebook to an activity and literally tick it off.
Wow, that is so good, especially for the couple that love to travel as well. It's not just, you can do this whilst you're at home. You can take it everywhere. That's so good. Is it quite small as well? You can just snip it in your suitcase and take it away with you.
Absolutely. So it comes in a beautiful luxury grey A5, just over A5 size box, which is just a little bit bigger than a standard postcard. And you've got the full 26 letters. Each one has 3 cards within it. So you can either, if you really wanted, you could take a picture of them on your phone, or you could pinch the ones that you wanted, or you could nearly just plan it into an itinerary before you leave. But they're not cumbersome. They would happily fit in luggage or hand luggage. And I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. I was like, this is setting the benchmark for how to use these. But again, my whole big ethos with it is, it's about creating memories. But I don't know about you, but there are plenty of times that I'm like, what do we want to do this weekend? Or it's an anniversary, or it's a whatever. And it's, you know, we often can default to the same activities, like let's go for dinner, or let's go for drinks, or let's go for the cinema, or, you know, there's a very broad range of different activities. And I think you'll surprise yourself with what actually is on your doorstep when you go and look. And I think when I did the count on it, there's about 25 to 30 of the activities that won't even cost you a penny.
Wow, that's good.
So should you want to invest in any of the other ones, that's completely up to you as to what level of investment that you do that. But there's over 75 different indoor and outdoor activities, and the feedback on them has just been really, really wonderful.
That's great. At the end, I will link everything. I'll put it on my blog for the weekly blog, and people can click on it and have a look, because I think it's such a unique idea. Will you be using it yourself today? Because I know it's your wedding anniversary today.
Yes, I will. We are going to have dinner tomorrow night, because tomorrow is actually my birthday as well. But yeah, it's been really wonderful, because what we've been doing is kind of ticking activities off over the years. So some of the inclusions are inspired by things that we've done, and I've really, really, really enjoyed, that are, they are milestone occasions. Like one of them, for example, is a hot air balloon ride. Now that's not something it's not something that you're going to do on a whim, but wherever your listeners are listening in from, when you do a little bit of digging, you will find somewhere, it might be a little bit of a journey, but that to me is, that's a real milestone event. It's something that you will never forget. My recommendation on the prompt is, if you can do it at sunrise, it is a moment that you will never, ever, ever forget. And, it's something that you see on TV or you see on Instagram, but to do it yourself, whether that is for somebody's birthday or an anniversary gift or whatever, it's something that you will never, ever, ever forget. So there's really such a broad range of things to do. I hope people enjoy it as much as I enjoyed putting it together, and really do take the opportunity to kind of plan in those special moments with their other half. And they can be used by families as well. Yes, it's a kind of, an adult to adult gift, but they are very, very family friendly. So they really, they fit the bill for everybody.
That's good. I love that. And I can see the passion on the things. I love it when people are really passionate about the things that they've created, or their job. Like my friend Matt, he's a videographer, and he was my first guest on the Guest Book podcast. And I just love how people are so passionate in creating things for other people.
Yeah.
But having them have these memories, like, it's not just about, this is a product, I'm going to sell it to you. It's, I have something to give to you so you can keep it forever. And I love that. I just love it.
It does. It means so, so much to me to be able to encourage you to celebrate that milestone, because in a digital world, I love a voice note as much as the next person, but it's all too easy to get swept up in the convenience of a digital lifestyle. And then, we were speaking about it before the podcast. What are our children going to have when, the day will come that we're no longer here? What will our children have from us that captures our handwriting, or that captures our sentiment for the first day of school or the 10th birthday, or, and I think about it in very much in a celebratory sense, that, we want to have things that can be cherished and passed on to the next generation.
Now, you are married, as we just briefly touched upon, 4 years now, wasn't it? You got married in 2019. Can you give us a little story on how you and your partner met? Like, was it love at first sight? Was there any funny stories on how you met? How did that go?
So we met a very long time ago. We had, and I think probably most bride-to-be's might say, I don't want a long engagement, but we by virtue of the fact that we met as friends through mutual friends from my hometown when I was living in Dubai many, many moons ago. We were friends for quite a while before we started dating, shall we say. And I wholeheartedly believe that it has been the best foundation for our relationship, because our social circles started to cross over. I heard he was kind of interested. I was like, yeah, but we're just really good friends. And, we would do loads of different things together. And he will like to recall that my mum was visiting Dubai for a trip in October. And when I recall what year it was, it seems like a lifetime ago, but I had invited him to come and have dinner with myself and my mum at very short notice. I will put that out there. And he likes to tell people that's when she knew she was into me. She wanted me to meet her mum, but there was no romantic involvement at that stage. And he was like, she knew, she just didn't want to admit it. But we continued to spend more and more time together. And then just one night we kissed. And there's a few different funny scenarios over the years throughout our friendship, but I can admit it now that I did want my mum to meet him. He was a really, really nice guy. It wasn't love at first sight because it was a relationship based on friendship. We would do such fun things together. If any of your listeners have been to Dubai, I'm sure they'll have heard about, the rugby sevens or brunch or, all the classic kind of Dubai touristy things. And, we did all of those as friends, and we started to mix friendship groups. And I was like, yes, he's the kind of guy who will, people in Manchester now think it's hilarious that we know all of our neighbours because he will talk to anybody. So he was brilliant with my friendship group, and I didn't have to babysit him. Sometimes you can have a partner who it can take a little bit of time for them to build a relationship with a group of friends, especially girlfriends, because collectively we can be quite protective of our nearest and dearest. And he's the kind of guy who will just introduce himself and make friends with everybody. And we are together, I'm here computing the maths now, we're together 12 years. We got engaged in 2014. We had a 5-year engagement, and we got married in Manchester in 2019.
It's all pieced together nicely, and I like that. I'm having a very long engagement myself, but I think it's important to kind of have that long engagement. I don't see why you need to rush things. I know some people do, and it's completely up to the person. But yeah, I do like that kind of moment to enjoy your engagement and that milestone in your life as well.
When we first got engaged, I wanted to get married quite quickly for the very simple reason I wanted my grandparents to be there, because at that time I was very fortunate to have my 4 grandparents, and just with the way that life was going and we were living overseas, it just didn't happen. It wasn't going to work out practically for us. But I am very glad that we were able to sort of take perspective and plan the type of wedding that we wanted, that fitted our personalities, that fitted, the environment and atmosphere that we wanted to create for our guests. And what we decided to do was, we now live in Manchester. He's from Birmingham. I'm from Wexford in the very southeast of Ireland. We met in Dubai, so we had a very broad international friendship group, but we were like, Manchester's our home. And there's very much the very traditional Irish, you get married in the bride's parish. And we looked at that option, but I was like, no, my home is now Manchester. I want to get ready in my house, and we're going to invite everybody to our city to celebrate our wedding. Wow. And it was brilliant.
Doing it your way.
Yeah, very much doing it our way. And, there was very modern aspects to our wedding. And yeah, it was a fantastic weekend.
Did you suspect, put my teeth in, did you know that the proposal was coming? Was it, you had a feeling it was going to happen, or was it completely out of the blue?
I remember joking with my very dear girlfriends in Dubai that I was like, I want to be engaged by the time I'm 30. And I suppose to answer that succinctly, I think every woman probably has that kind of gut feeling as to when it was going to happen, as to how he was going to do it. No, I didn't. We'd taken a long trip from Dubai back to Ireland that was essentially dovetailing 2 weddings, one at the start, one at the end of the trip. And in the middle of it, we went to Rome for a holiday for ourselves. And it was fantastic. The weather was glorious. We took in all of the sights, did all the quintessential things in Rome. And we had gone out for dinner one night to what I would call my death row dinner, which is, my absolute favorite, steak and red wine meal. It's this stunning restaurant in Rome. And we basically were recapping, almost like reeling in the years of our friendship and our relationship. And we were then, well, let's go and take a walk. And it's a famous park, and the name escapes me right now, but it was, the quintessential summer night in Rome, balmy, stars are out, an appropriate amount of red wine to have that really nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. And we took our stroll through the park, and he just stopped, and he was looking for something in his wallet, and he was like, oh, I think I've left my credit card with the waiter. And I was like, no, you didn't. I saw you pick it up. And he fished into his card wallet and managed to fish out a ring and got down on one knee. And I definitely think I won't be the only fiance who doesn't remember, but I don't remember saying yes. I did say yes, but I remember being so elated and overwhelmed. I know I cried, but I don't remember verbally saying, yes, I will marry you, because I was just so overwhelmed by the momentous, magical moment in Rome. And yeah, the rest is history. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, it's just been an incredible journey.
How did you find the planning of your wedding? Because you've got friends and relatives all around the world, I'd assume, with people in Dubai and in Ireland. How did you find the planning process for you?
So when we touched upon before that I had quite a long engagement, and it wasn't something that we'd initially planned, but that's how it worked out. We did research actually both in Ireland and in the UK, put information into a spreadsheet and kind of parked it and then revisited it. And I think there's an overwhelming amount of information online in terms of what you should be doing and how you should do it. And because I had essentially, we have no family here where we live in Manchester. We're now very, very lucky to have a family of friends, shall I say, and it's absolutely wonderful to have that network now. But when we were planning our wedding, we very much were doing it ourselves. Not because there wasn't the offer of help from our family and friends, but logistically, there was time zones, there was distance. Myself and my husband were both in sort of senior management careers at the time. And so we kind of needed to squeeze it in when we needed to squeeze it in. And because we'd done research and didn't take action and then started researching again, we actually didn't, from the time we chose our venues to when we set the date, and we allowed the venue availability to dictate our date, hence why it was the day before my birthday, which is tomorrow. So we kind of had a wedding and a birth, not quite a wedding and a birthday rolled into one, but in short, we actually weren't planning. When I say this out loud now, I'm like, geez, that was crazy. We booked it at the end of October 2018 for a June 2019 wedding in 2 different venues with international guests. And when I say that out loud, that was nuts. No wonder I was stressed. Because we did a little bit of an unconventional wedding. We had a very intimate ceremony and an intimate dinner in what was the Principal on Oxford Road in Manchester for 60 people. And we then did a full reception, first dance, cake, the whole shebang, the next day in Didsbury House. So you could argue I planned 2 weddings. Oh my God, as I say this out loud, I planned 2 wedding days in less than a year. No wonder I was stressed.
You are crazy. What?
I've actually not said that out loud before. So no wonder I found it a very stressful experience. I can acknowledge now that I was probably quite protective over the organization of it, because I wasn't having, okay, let's have a planning day, let's have a Wedman day next Saturday. Because I had no immediate family, or my friendship group was so international, Darren and I had to be incredibly resourceful and did Wedman so many different nights. And then you were liaising with 2 venues, 2 sets of rooms, 2 sets of invitations. Only saying this out now and acknowledging it hilariously, on my 4th wedding anniversary, I essentially planned 2 wedding days in under 10 months. And I would not recommend it. I would not recommend it at all. Yeah, there are definitely things that I would have done differently. One of the biggest epiphanies is that video calls weren't even a thing back then, because COVID hadn't happened. I used Zoom partly because the company I was in liaised with with American brands. So Zoom was on my radar, but no one did video calls. FaceTime was this thing that was a bit American rather than something that we use massively. It was all about Skype.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't even think to employ any of those things to get a little bit of support. And we had a small bridal party, but everybody worked full-time jobs, and it was an international bridal party, which was wonderful to have those people come in and celebrate with me. But I definitely would have welcomed a kind of a one-stop shop to help me, that this is the ultimate resource that you need. This is the timeline. These are the spreadsheets. I am very fortunate to have a husband who could whip a spreadsheet up in his sleep. But I would have loved to have access to somebody who could support me in the organization, point me in the right direction. But without that, I think when there's this perception that when you mention the W word, people stick zeros on to a service. I think brides do need support, because there will be a group of brides or grooms who still live in their hometown or live in close proximity to their hometown, and they will have a lot more interaction with their bridal party, whether they are doing, lots of DIY aspects, or they've got their mum helping them with different aspects, or their parents, or whatever that looks like. But there is also a huge amount of us that are far away from either the place that you're going to get married, or far away from home. Or in my case, I've been an expat for, I'm not even going to do the maths on that, but you know what I mean? You do become a lot more self-sufficient because you have to be, but you then take on so much extra organization and admin. And I can reflect now and say it was a really stressful period, having just acknowledged I planned 2 weddings in less than a year.
As well as the stress, it's got to be lonely as well, because you're also, I want to create this beautiful day. I want to have all these memories. I want to celebrate my love with my husband. But you've crammed it in 10 months, but you've planned all of that. You've got obviously your fiance with you in that journey, but it's got to have been lonely, because you can't just go down the road and have a cup of tea with your friend and go, oh, this is what I've planned today, or guess what I'm looking at today. Time zones and everything are all over the place.
It definitely was lonely, and I can recognize that now. And I should have shared and asked for help a lot more. And I think the other side of me didn't want to be a burden to other people, because they weren't in close proximity, and there wasn't the opportunity to be like, okay, I'd love if you guys come over and I'll do brunch and we'll have a Wedman day. That opportunity just didn't exist. My 2, what I'll call my maid of honors, I had a best friend from Dubai and my identical twin sister as my best maids, is what I call them. They were fantastic, and they planned a phenomenal hen party weekend for me in Ireland. And looking back on it now, I wish I had kind of more resources available to me, because when you go down the Pinterest road, or when you go down the Googling road, there's just an overwhelming amount of information. I definitely wish I had something that was, super concise, super organized, but like a one-stop shop, that somebody I could, pose my questions to somebody, I could use resources that they could provide me with, and just make it a lot more enjoyable. And also almost, find a community that I'm not the only person who's planning their wedding without their bridal party an hour's drive away, or, family. Because I think that needs to be spoken about a little bit more. Planning a wedding can be lonely. We all aren't fortunate enough to have family on our doorsteps, and it's an enjoyable process because you're excited and you're bringing all your family and friends together, and they're things that you've only dreamed of bringing together. But when you think about all the different vendors that you liaise with and that you're in touch with, it can be mind-blowing when you actually list it all out, and the decisions that you've got to make, the finances that you've got to run, the budgets that you potentially need to try and keep, the even making decisions that, oh, I thought we could do this, but I can't, or availability. There's a lot of logistics behind the scenes that couples, I'm sure, who are listening to this are well aware of as they now progress through their own planning journey, that the Pinterest version looks fabulous, but when you break down the logistics and the operations behind making that happen, it's not to be underestimated how stressful and how lonely that can be. And you want to make sure that you're making the right decision, and who are you validating that decision against. You might set a budget, you might be, liaising with family in terms of having a financial contribution to them. Is there then the politics of, well, we're giving you this money, this is how we would like this money to be spent? Now, we weren't in that situation. We paid for our own wedding. But, you've all those different kind of stakeholder, not to go corporate, but you've so many stakeholder relationships to manage. Yeah, I wish I had a community, and I wish I had a kind of a one-stop shop of resources to help me in that journey, but in a space that was kind of positive and collaborative, if that makes sense.
Wedding planning is not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure. It should be happy, it should be fun, we should be enjoying this. I'm really stressed, and people are telling me just to it's gonna happen. You are going to be stressed, just deal with it.
Yeah.
I wanted a place to go to get all the things that I needed to do in a creative way, in an interactive way with a community. Because even though I have people I can go to, like yourself, I don't want to be a burden on them all the time. I don't want to go, I'm a little bit poor at delegation, if I'm honest, but I don't want to just go, can you do this? Can you do that? Like, I'll do it myself and it's done right. A bit of a perfectionist in that way. And I couldn't find anything like that anywhere. And I was like, I need somewhere to tell me what to do, break everything down. Because when you look at it from a grand height and see all of the things that you need to do, I don't think anybody would actually plan their own wedding, because there is so much to do. All the little things, plus do wedding planning and your own job.
Exactly.
Or be a mom.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah. Or
because we're crazy.
There's so many different things that people are already juggling in life before you sign that contract for your venues. And then you then get the list, right? Okay, I've got the venue sorted, and now I've got to do these, however many things.
And there's things that you will never think of in a million years. And you're like, I've got to do that. And I've got to do that. And I've got to pay for this. And I've got to pay for that. And your mind, majority of brides will be on that journey. Your mind will be full of all 1,000,001 to-do lists, all the things you have to do in your household. If you've got children, all the things for the children, your job. Like, when do you cut yourself some slack and have a break?
Yeah.
When do you take that time? So in the future, I am putting together a membership site. It's called the Academy, and it's a wedding planning membership site. Sneak peek for anybody listening. So it is that one-stop shop, like you said, and it is to have that support and that community around you. So if you are a solo bride doing all the planning, you've got somewhere to go, you've got the ideas, inspiration, you've got the empowerment to do it yourself. And I am working with coaches and things like that to help people's mindset too, because it is stressful. And there might be some people out there that aren't confident either. So I'm trying to help all those couples as best I can.
It's going to be such a fantastic resource. And, in the industry that we're in, there are some wonderful Facebook groups that are free, but I'm a member of them, and there is an awful lot of politics in them. I really think it's so important to find a community that is about positive energy. It's about bringing the right mindset to planning. Yes, we've both acknowledged it's stressful, but it doesn't have to be if you set yourself up with the right tools and the right organization systems, but then also have a community that is a safe space. And whether that is, guys, I've just had this response back from whoever that wedding vendor might be. And, you want to be able to have the right language to be able to respond appropriately, but get across, well, this is how I want it to be. But, there are many different scenarios. I had 2 very late minute hurdles, isn't going to put the word correctly, in my own wedding planning, that I was like, you've got to be kidding me. One was 10 days out, and one was 2 days out.
Oh no.
And I'm very grateful for my career experience to be able to problem solve, and I'm very grateful for my husband's career experience to be able to right, okay, let's just get it fixed. But neither of them were for the faint-hearted at all. And I'm not going to delve into them because I don't want to trigger or scare anybody who's getting married. But that's also life. Things can happen, and I'm going to be really bold and say I don't even think we took out wedding insurance. And what I am aware of is that the skills and the experience that we've had in our professional lives allowed us to deal with both of those situations and get them resolved very, very quickly. In the scheme of things, they weren't catastrophic because we didn't let them be. One of them took a massive shine off a situation, but we pivoted, we I pivoted because it was very much affecting the female bridal party, but I pivoted. We picked ourselves back up and we found a resolution. But there are surprises along the way that I think it's going to be so important that you support couples with the mindset, because Instagram and Pinterest have a lot to answer for, that we have this idealistic view of what our wedding day is going to be. And I don't know, do you remember, there was, slightly going off piece here a little, but I think it's really important to touch upon a video on Instagram that went viral. Was it last year? And it basically was a bride acknowledging just how much her wedding flowers cost. And I thought it was the most helpful video ever. She got some very harmful and hurtful comments in, but she basically said she spent, and it was in context for America, but if I recall it correctly, she said she spent $14,000, give or take, on her flowers. But I really commend her for doing so, because we all will go wild with our Pinterest boards per vendor and concepts, etc. But what she did was, I believe, was really educational and really healthy. If you want what she had, that's the region of investment that you're going to need to make. And I just thought it was so helpful to put it in perspective, that you kind of need to approach your wedding with a good, better, and best approach. That if you want the Instagram celebrity level wedding, it's going to come at a price. And it's that education piece about trying to measure your own expectations, because we see, Sophia Richie's wedding went viral, and the PR team behind it did an insane job. But we've all got to remember that will have come at an insane cost. And what's the equivalent that is going to be fitting for our day to the budget that we've assigned? And just allow ourselves to be realistic. And what you're creating sounds just absolutely incredible, but also to give a little bit of context of what investment's going to cost what, and what you would get for that investment. Because from an inspiration point of view, social media is fantastic, but it's also unrealistic, because her $14,000 worth of flowers were insane and it looked exquisite. But I thought it was a very helpful lesson to people to know that that's what that takes. And then we allow ourselves to come from a place of being informed. And when you get the quote in, it's like, well, that's going to cost you whatever. Well, of course it is, because that is hundreds of stems of roses and thousands of lilies. But what actually do I want, and what do I place value on in terms of my day and what my day looks like for me and my guests?
Yeah. And you usually find as well that your guests don't really care about all of that. And you're trying to, as the quote might say, keeping up with the Joneses. Like, do they care? Yeah. Like, I know it's your day and I know you've probably got a vision, but literally think about what's important to you.
Yeah.
Is $14,000 on flowers important to you, or could you spend that elsewhere? I very much would spend it elsewhere. Have a really good think about what is important to you. What do you care about? Not what other people care about. Do what you want to do, not what you should do, because exactly. I hate it when people tell me you should do this. But literally have that vision, work with it, and maybe adapt or see what you can compromise on, or come up with your own ideas. It's all well and good having this inspiration on Pinterest, but, be a bit more unique. Had your own twist on things.
I couldn't agree more.
I could go on that all day.
I know. I think we could our podcast if we wanted.
Just here for a week. So before I go, I'll let you go. I know you're a very busy lady. You've got things to do today. Have you got a last piece of advice for my listeners at all? Any tips, tricks, or any advice?
Yeah, and it's something that myself and my husband still say to this very day, and it's communicate, because it is the foundation to any successful relationship. It's going to be the foundation to easier wedding planning. And it's going to really help with your expectations of what the whole experience is going to be and what you both want out of the day, whether that is, what your non-negotiables are, what your partner's non-negotiables are, what is your good, better, and best, what is your budget, what is your top level budget, what is, all those different situations. I wholeheartedly believe that communication is the key to a happy wedding, a happy marriage, and hopefully a lifelong marriage for both me and your listeners and yourself as a bride-to-be.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. So where can my listeners find you? We've got Instagram, website. Where can they go and find you and get all these beautiful keepsakes, not only for their wedding, but other milestones in their life too?
So you can find us at thekidspresscompany.com. I also have an Etsy store under the same name, The Kids Press Company, and you can find us on Instagram at The Kids Press Company.
That's great. Thank you so much today, Rachel. It's been an amazing conversation, and everything will be linked in my Instagram and in my blog, so you can find Rachel over there. Thank you so much for your time today, Rachel.
No, thank you for having me. I hope your listeners get great value from it, and it's been a pleasure to be here.